We have a great lineup of guests for you on our show today, including Anthony Lawrence, CEO of VOR Technology, followed by Vita Richardson, President and CEO of the Association of Corporate Counsel, Andrew Howard, President and CEO of Howard Insurance, and Jeremy Farber, President and CEO of Securus. Let's get to know our first guest, Anthony Lawrence, CEO of VOR Technology. Anthony, what is VOR Technology? What are you guys doing?
VOR stands for VOR is the Norse goddess of Viking wisdom. And we do quantum and space communications. Our communications platforms are unhackable.
And how large or how small is the team?
VOR is $30 million in revenue. We're over 300 personnel.
All righty. And how'd you get a job with this company?
I actually started the company from the basement of my first home.
All right. And let me ask you a question. How many schools did you go to prior to graduating high school?
I went to over 20 schools.
You went over 20 schools prior to graduating high school. You did a lot of moving around.
Yes, I did.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, and where are you in the pecking order?
I have 6 brothers and sisters, and I'm the oldest.
You have 6 brothers and sisters. You're the oldest. So what was the effect of you guys moving 20 times or so to 20 different schools and you're being the oldest? What would that do to you?
It really enhanced my leadership skills. They didn't exist at first, but my father was he's former military, and he was very strict on us. So if my brothers and sisters did something wrong, I was always responsible. Because of that, I built very strong values, very strong leadership values. Moving from school to schools made me very adaptable to any environment and any situation. And that has stayed with me since I started my business.
So Dad was former military. What was he doing for a living that would cause the family to move 20 different times or whatever?
My father was a traveling minister. He would go from church to church and deliver his message.
David?
You mentioned in the green room as your family was traveling around so much, there were some kind of challenging living conditions. You could talk about that.
Sure. My family lived by faith, and we often found ourselves living in our vehicle. We had a large 1985 white Cadillac. It was actually a lot of room. It wasn't that bad. But, we found ourselves living in our vehicle, and also the churches that we supported, we would stay in the churches as well because we didn't have anywhere else to stay.
What was the effect on your family?
Those situations made our family very, very close. We're still close today.
How does that affect you and your business today?
It provides, it's a good foundation, coming from an environment to where you didn't have much. You learn to work with what you have. You learn to work with nothing. And starting a business from scratch, that was a great capability I had to take nothing and turn it into something. And I think that's how VOR got to $30 million in revenue in roughly 6 years.
Brian?
So was there a turning point for you where, you went from moving around to a lot of schools where there was just a moment that was very influential that shaped you?
Yes. One of the most influential moment was when I went to military school in 9th grade. That built a great foundation for my leadership skills.
How did that period of time influence who you are today? What are the principles of that foundation?
Great. So prior to going to military school, even though my father was strict, I still lacked discipline. In the military school, I went to Randolph-Macon Academy. They force you to be disciplined. You get up at a certain time. You go to sleep at a certain time. You have to do what they tell you to do. And that discipline, it still stays with me. I joined the Army when I was 17 years old, and I graduated top of my class in basic training because I already had those foundational skills.
Lucia?
What value does VOR, or do you, through VOR, bring to us, to society?
My experience with the U.S. government, with the Army, with the National Security Agency, and with U.S. Cybercom has given me an unprecedented understanding of what is affecting our nation in cyberspace. Personally, I believe that the U.S. government, although they're trying their hardest, is not adequately equipped to handle some of the other nations' cyber capabilities. So what I bring to the table is innovative approaches and innovative methodologies to stop one of the most pressing issues in our country right now.
Can you give us a quick sense of why you might have a special perspective, a real quick rundown of where you've worked?
Oh, sure. Really quick, I joined the military when I was 16 years old. I came in with the split option program. Shortly after the towers fell, they allowed high school students to come in. So I came in, joined the intelligence corps. I was stationed in North Korea for 2 years, monitoring the North Korean threat while working for the National Security Agency. Left left Korea, and I went to the United States, Fort Meade, and I got into the cyber mission. At that point in time, I was 21 years old. I was the first cyber deployer for the U.S. Army to Iraq, and while downrange, I captured roughly 45 targets of interest utilizing cyber capabilities. After that, I was able to work for the director of the National Security Agency, General Keith Alexander. During that time frame, I was his aide-de-camp. I took care of him, ran his meetings, and I had a lot of free time, so I spent most of my time in NSA's archives, just reading old reports. And I found that a lot of historic technologies and capabilities still resonate today. So VOR is bringing back old technology to current times to protect our systems against those that would do us
Lucia,
harm.
what other questions you got? What else you thinking?
I'm just thinking, going back to our conversation earlier in the green room about how you were raised and everything that you had to go through. How do you handle new hires who may not have been raised in the same manner that you were?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I come across a few employees, not to mention any names, but millennials probably give us the most issues. What I try to do is when I deal with a lot of software engineers, systems engineers, quantum physicists, and I'm up front with them as soon as they come on board with me. I let them know what to expect. I let them know how much they get paid, and I set very straightforward milestones. If you hit these milestones, you'll get a bonus. You get X, Y, Z. And I find laying things out clearly to people when they first come on board makes things easier during their entire employment.
Mm-hmm. Anthony, are you more like your mom or dad?
Just like my mom.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Since my dad was he has a very strict military background, my mother was more compassionate. She listened. She was there with me. She was very understanding. And I emulate that. I try to be understanding to my employees and my team members.
Well, all that moving, what would that do to you, moving to 20 different schools?
I can fit in anywhere at any time. Usually I try to stay to myself, but if I have to mingle, I do it well. And, I've lived in different cities, different states, and we all know everywhere we go, people are different. So that really fortified my leadership skills, the adaptability.
So this organization that you started, which is now 300 people and $30 million, how high is up? When are you going to stop?
I'm never going to stop. My goal is to become a billionaire. And I really think we are on the right track to accomplishing that.
Well, where's all that drive? I mean, you used to sleep in a car and sleep on a church floor. Where's that drive coming from, or where'd that capability come from? You didn't go to Harvard.
No, honestly, I think it comes from my deployment. Downrange, you're working 12 to 15 hours a day, nonstop. You're getting shot at. Ever since I left Iraq, it's almost as if I'm still there, just through the company. I'm still fighting a good fight, still trying to protect the nation.
Well, what's really important to you? I mean, it's like you've achieved this like great success, and you're this sophisticated guy. What's really important to you?
I think my family values are what matters, and
where'd that come from?
My upbringing, 100% my upbringing, and I consider.
Are you telling me in this white Cadillac, the 6 or 7 or 8 of you all fit?
Yeah, we fit in there pretty well. It was a lot of room.
Well, you were also a little kid at that point, though.
That's right.
But you're telling me that actually pulled you together, all that adversity, all the different moving around and stuff.
The hurdles, the roadblocks, they all made me stronger. They gave me the ability to stay calm in very, very stressful situations. And I ran into some stressful situations in Iraq. I was shot at while doing my job. It doesn't get more stressful than that. Police officers, public safety officials, they have to do their jobs as well as service members while they're getting shot at. That makes you the best.
And you're telling me that helps plant the seeds for you being the CEO of a 300-person company that's going to continue to grow and grow and grow? Give me that again.
That's exactly correct. I work 12 to 15 hours a day. I don't let anything stop me. And I think the reason that we grew so fast, I did this in 6 years. I got to $30 million, 300 employees. I've had 7 different business partners. I've saved up every last dime I had to buy those individuals out. And now I have 100% ownership of my company. Those type of things take time, they take patience, and they take perseverance. And that those core attributes make good leaders, and those core attributes will make anyone successful.
So I got a question. I mean, where's money in terms of importance fit in? I mean, do you drive the fanciest car?
No. I still live the same lifestyle I was living when I was enlisted. As the primary shareholder and only business owner, I have to pay for everything. Everybody looks to me So I save and I save and I save for a rainy day. And in business, you're going to hit a rainy day all the time. I mean, it happens every other week, and it usually happens when you don't expect it. I project, I'll do what I can, but these things happen. So having a good cash reserve, having a good financial background.
What's the website address for VOR Technology?
It's www.vor-tech.com.
Let me have that one more time.
www.vor-tech.com.
We've been speaking with Anthony Lawrence, CEO of VOR Technology, here on Executive Leaders Radio.